Okay, here I am back. I'm going to do some games that were played on chess.com. Uh, these were, I posted a topic in my forums in my video lessons group a while back that members from the player who are playing in the Dan Heisman Learning Center slow chess events could submit a game. And I have a few replies in there that I've got to get to. Didn't have as many as I was hoping to, but some people read and see this opportunity and take it. So SDMinSoCal requested this game, and one thing that unfortunately about chess.com, it records time stamping, but you can't display it when you analyze the game. So I found the interface at ICC to be better, since I can't show the times. But I can say one thing to SDMinSoCal: you're playing too fast. Okay, I'm going to bring it up here, the PGM in front of me. When the game concluded at move 54, you had 35 minutes on your clock, 35 minutes and 31 seconds. Your opponent had 42 minutes and 2 seconds. Now, you've got to take your time. 45-45, you can take, on an average, nearly 2 minutes a move. Now, let me give you a little statistic, just so you understand it. Half the chess games that are played last under 40 moves, the other half last longer. At move 40, we can determine the likely result. In other words, should white win? Should white lose? Should the game be a draw? Doesn't mean it'll end that way, but we can determine the likely result. So your goal is to get to move 40 using as much time as you possibly can, and you need that time to evaluate the position and consider among the moves. So, at move 40, if you spend about 110 seconds a move, you'll be just playing off your 45-second increment the rest of the way. That should be enough time to complete a game that we know what the result should be. Now, if you go fast as you did, you're leaving, good 20, 30 minutes thinking time. You're leaving it on the table, or you're not using it, and your opponent was even quicker. So I can't specifically look at every move and show it, but and show the time, because I can't display the time stamping. But you can look back at I'll identify the mistakes, and you can look back at how much time you took, and you can make a determination from there. Okay, so we have this opening has about 3 or 4 names. There's the Polish, the Sokolsky, the orangutan. One of the ideas is white would like it if if black opens with e5 and he trades a center pawn for a wing pawn. That's one of the ideas. But essentially the game is even. It stays even. It doesn't promise much of an advantage until we get to a middle game. Now here, let's see. Now you can't play the tactical push here because it hangs. And one of the ideas behind this move is if the knight comes out to its normal square, we kick it. So the game seems about even. This pawn is under attack, and it's pushed to keep the knight from coming out. Now here's a case. I haven't played over this game, so this is a first trial run through it. A good move for you here would be to develop a piece, and I would recommend the move knight c3. Now, why do I recommend that move? Well, we don't want to take here and develop black's knight for him. Okay, we want black to take, and we'll take back if that's his plan. And so we don't want to move the bishop, because if he takes, then we have to spend a move. So let's just develop the knight. That would be my choice here. Okay, this is playable also. If black takes, you do get an open file. Okay, so this move is playable also. Now we need to develop. Since your intention is to capture back this way, I would develop this bishop so that we can castle promptly. Okay, now here, this move doesn't really help your position. Okay, let's talk about that for a moment. Your goal is to get your king safe. If you play this, you develop a piece. you also break the pin. Okay. Now, suppose black plays queen c7. Are you afraid of this, that there'd be some pressure down here? Well, we don't even know if black is going to make this move. Okay, so let's wait. Let's just wait it out. What if black castles? Okay, we castle. What if black develops his knight? Okay, we develop a knight. Let's just pick a square. Now he plays here. Now he has a threat. His threat is to play here. You take back, and he steals this. Right? Okay, now play here. This eliminates the threat on the knight. Or the indirect threat of taking the knight to win this pawn. So he's just going to keep the pin alive with bishop back. Now, if you push again, you're not giving your king a good shelter for the future. Castling either side of the board would be risky. So I would again recommend bishop e2 here. Okay, this is playable, but let's think about this for a second. You've just shut your bishop in. This bishop has no activity. Let's focus on developing a piece first and getting castled. Then we can determine how we want to deploy these guys. So your priority here should be getting castled. Okay, black has gotten castled. Okay, this doesn't help you get castled. Unless you want to castle queenside, play your queen here and castle queenside. Let's take care of the king. Okay, so you're still not developing this bishop. Now, maybe you're trying to push, maybe you're trying to take, maybe you're hoping he takes. So you can go here. Let's see what black does. Okay, so now definitely take with the bishop. Now, taking with the knight has some merit in trying to control e5, but remember, this knight on e2 is pinned. Or knight on f3. Okay, so is Zwischenzug. Okay, you're neglecting castling. It does weaken the black pawn structure, but black throws a Zwischenzug at you, a Zwischenzug of his own at you. So I think you need to collect this. And now black does have a weak pawn. Okay, but notice, 1, 2, 3, 4. You've played 6 moves in a row that haven't helped you get castled. You've got your queenside pretty much developed, but we can't forget the king. Okay, there you go. The drawback with, even though this points at his king, it does leave your knight pinned. It does do a better job of reinforcing e4. Okay, so now, perfect time to castle. Or is it? Let's see. If he takes, you can't take with the knight. You could take, but you could take with the bishop. Okay, perfect. Okay, we got that chore done. Now here, if you take with the pawn, you're going to have an isolated pawn. That's a weakness, and black is ready to blockade it. So you definitely need to take with the bishop. Okay, so here you've voluntarily weakened your own position. Okay, this move gives you some center control, but and isolated pawns aren't that bad. But the more pieces get traded, the weaker it becomes. So objectively, this would be a better move. Now maybe we have a problem with that. Maybe not. Let's see. Come back. He doesn't have a fork. You have control. Okay. So here you voluntarily weaken your position. Now black can blockade this pawn and build up a nice position. Okay, he doesn't. He attacks your bishop directly. Okay, now you're going to step into a pin. He'll swing a rook to one of these rooks over to the c file, and he has threats. That's what he does. So he's threatening to take this bishop. He's also threatening to pile up on it further. Okay. Now, does he do this? No, he goes here. Well, what happens if he goes here? Now, you say, well, you're going to steal a pawn. Okay,
check.
But now he's threatening to trap your bishop. And, you retreat it. Black just takes. And black has won a piece. So you don't have time to take his pawn, but you're going to need some more defense here. How do you defend that? How do you defend that bishop? Well, I guess you can move it. Okay, you're fortunate you have some double protection here. Now if he takes, okay, you're fine. Or are you? Let's kick this. Now black gets control of the C file. Now most of the penetration squares are covered, but his rook got to the file, yours didn't. And meanwhile your bishop is loose. If you come back here, this rook is going to penetrate to the 7th rank. And now you're playing defense. So you'd have to bring your bishop back here. And, as I say, the more pieces are traded, the weaker your isolated queen pawn becomes. So, black can just play this move and he's ready, to blockade it. Okay, so he goes here, but he's still trying to blockade the pawn. Now, this might be a good idea because in some variations, if you move your knight to protect that bishop, you might end up with some double pawns. Let's see what black does. Okay, he erects his blockade. He is piling up on the pin piece. And I don't know. Let's see. That seems it doesn't seem right. You got your nice knight on a great square. What if let's pick something a little different. Well, let's go here. Okay, do we still have problems here? Queen takes, rook takes, knight here. Okay, now let's see. You take, he takes. Now your bishop is covered by your knight, but after a move like this,
check.
Black has the 2 bishops, and he still has this blockade here. Black is better here. Okay, so maybe your knight's okay here, but you've got some latent danger lurking here on C3. You got to be very careful here. So he eliminates one defender and resumes, or one piece on the file, and keeps this knight pinned. Okay, tempo on the queen. Now he could play an aggressive move like knight f4. Your force of your knight is no longer pinned, but black does have the bishop here. Okay, you're getting chased. Now he can get both bishops with this move. He doesn't. I guess he doesn't understand this pawn really isn't in trouble.
Check.
Okay, you got to deal with your queen. And even that's risky because of potential discoveries. But let's see. You got this. I don't know. This is tricky. This is tricky stuff here. Let's see. I'm willing to give up this pawn. I think black can do well out of this. Let's go here. Now you need to come up here to guard the bishop. Now let's see. F5 takes. You're on the knight. You have some discoveries. You got some interesting counterplay. It's definitely some complications. So black is taking a conservative approach and maintaining this pawn's safety. But again, the more pieces are traded, the weaker this pawn becomes. Okay, more trades. Now he wants to trade queens and just go down to an ending. So now black has a threat to fork and win material. Now hitting the weakness, you need to guard it. Or do you? Can you guard it? Let's see. Here, I think you need to go there. Let's see. Okay, here you have a defense. If he does this, you're going to play here. Okay. He breaks that threat. And you go there anyway. Now your knight's kind of like moving around with one move threats. Now suddenly we have our pawns forked. So, this knight maneuver hasn't worked out for you. Let's back this up. Okay. Well, I like the knight on this square. What if he had played here? No, he still can't play here. Okay. Now he is threatening to take the pawn. So instead of protecting it this way, how about this move? I don't know. You can still play down here. That's a nuisance. See, your pawns are becoming weak here.
Check.
Okay, developing counterplay. But this pawn is still weak and it's in danger of being captured, and not to mention the fact that he might even have another attacker on there before you know it. Now here, this might have been, we uncovered an attack. So if rook takes, you're going to take here. Okay. But the net result, what's happened so far is you've just lost your isolated pawn. But you do have drawing chances here because the pawns are on one side of the board. Now here, you almost have to go there. There's some danger that that knight's going to get cut off. Okay. Let me explain. Let's see where we can go. Here he's trying to get into this square in here, and he's back in the game. Okay, you do have good drawing chances in this position simply because black is only a pawn ahead, and some compensation to the double pawns. So what you want to do, your strategy should be to leave these pawns intact. Don't move them. If you move them, they become weaker. Okay, and then let black advance his pawns. When he advances his pawns, eventually he will, theory says he'll create a passed pawn by, or practice says he'll create a passed pawn by pushing his pawns down here. And if the F pawns are traded, he'll have a passed E pawn, and he'll have a couple of double pawns here. And you have good chances to hold this. Let's see. But here's the problem I see with this move. I don't know if he played that or not. I'm playing it. Your knight is getting shut out. You have to work to get that knight safe. Okay, say rook here in order to try to get the knight out this way. And maybe you're okay. Maybe. What if he attacks it again? Now you have a check, but he's on your knight, and these pawns are covered. And if you go to b8, you step into a pin. Or not b8, b6, rook here. Now you got to bring your rook up here. Let's see. Knight goes here. You can come back just in the nick of time. But you want to make sure you don't get that guy captured. And your knight's kind of sitting out there hanging out to dry. I think better is to come here. Now, if you're that close to bringing this knight back into play, and if he cuts off d2, you can get there this way. Now you have to be careful about one little trick here. Here it is.
Check.
One of the drawbacks of pushing those rook pawns becomes overworked. Now you're really fighting for a draw here. Although, in theory, you may still have one because of these double pawns. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, so now your knight's a little bit of a dilemma to get out of there. Okay, trying to do something with your king. Yeah, okay, don't want to do too many pawn advances here. Okay, knight is cut off. he can check and come here, but he doesn't have a way out. Okay, you're trying to get him out that way. And now there's the threat on F2. Okay. Now the best defense will probably be here to play knight D5 followed by knight E3. Okay, so here this might work, but you know you're weakening your position too much. You're keeping his king out, but now this knight check is going to tie you all up. Your pawns are going to be immobilized, and black may even have mating threats here.
Check.
See, he does do this. Let's back this up. See, this is a stronger move. This also prevents king here because of the tactic. So what's black going to do? And I always say we don't know. Let's say he tries to mobilize his pawns. That makes sense. Okay, let's go chase the rook. Okay, the rook is good on the 7th rank. Let's keep him there. Now, you don't have a whole lot of options here with your pieces. Your rook is tied down. You definitely don't want to move your pawns. You kind of have to wiggle wag a little bit. And I'm going to try to improve black's king position here before I do this break, and here it comes. Okay, now what do? Well, you have a check, and that knight has
Check.
a good square here. Now that also frees your rook, but keep in mind this is coming.
Check.
Now this pawn is becoming very, very dangerous. See, this is because your king is so shut off. You know, that pawn is threatening to. You might have to take it. It's just threatening the queen, and then now your king is still in trouble here. Let's see. Let's go here, trying to get rid of the more advanced pawn. But your king is in danger here. Let's see. Let's just waste a move. Okay, now I'm going to come over this way. And I don't think you can afford to take this. I think you end up getting awful close to checkmated here. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see. This threatens a mate in 1.
Check.
Now, if you check him again,
Check.
you're almost. Oh no, I shot off the rook. I don't know. Maybe you have something here. But this is all predicated on you not playing G4, because G4 just gives you too many weaknesses here. So you can look at that move and see how many seconds you took on it. Well, I can do it here. Let's see. It just slows me down a little bit. Okay, so yeah, this is not wise. Let's see. Let's move 43. Okay, 31:58 when you started. 40 seconds went off your clock, meaning it took 85 seconds. Okay, well, one thing I tell people that work with me is that if you take more than the allotted time, I'm never going to get upset with you because you had a chance to find the right move. But I could also say that here you could have sat for 20 minutes and still been able to finish the game in plenty of time. See, what you want to see is, number 1, it gives black the square for his knight, and number 2, it puts this pawn in jeopardy. So I immediately see some mating possibilities here. Okay, if you come over here, you're not keeping your pawn. Okay, it's a goner. So if you come up,
Check.
This is a checkmate. Okay, now you're going to have to defend against that. And your king has no move. This is your only move. But now you're dropping you're dropping your H pawn.
Check.
And now how do we, one thing I've talked about is how to evaluate a knight and pawn ending. Well, knights don't lose tempo, so one simple way to evaluate a knight pawn ending almost every time is that we imagine the knight's not on the board. Who would win the king and pawn ending? And if we can answer that correctly, we can determine who will win the knight and pawn ending. So I'm pretty sure black wins this. Now we're gonna try to play for the. Whoops, we have to go back. I'm sorry. We have to come back here for safety. And I'm going to try to get a good square for this piece, but unfortunately you won't be able to keep it. Now you don't want to take and undouble its pawns, so but black is just going to slowly but surely improve his position here. And this king is coming into play. This king is a very, very active piece. Now you're threatening to win a pawn. Let's see.
Check.
I'll chase that.
Check.
How much checking can you do here?
Check.
Not a whole lot. I'm going to come back here now. And this is the idea. Now black is ready to push here. So now you can't take it because he'll take back and the knights come off. So G4 could be a problem. Let's take.
Check.
I don't know, let's see. Let's not take yet. Let's redeploy this here first. Oh, that's going to drop this. Okay, I'll do this. I'll chase your knight. Now your knight doesn't have too many squares to go to. And here it's relegated to being a defensive piece. And let's see. So where do you put that knight? Here, how's it get back in the game? Threatening to fork. If you retreat your king any which way, this comes in here. But we're just driving that king back. And this is very, very troublesome for white. The knight has no move.
Check.
Now let's see.
Check.
Now this is hopeless.
Check.
Okay, let's see what happened. They went that way. I like this move. That threatens mate. Well, you're forced to do this, but this gives you some problems. Okay, how are you gonna? The threat is rook h1. Okay, let's see. Rook check. No, we don't want to check. We want the rook on h1. Okay, so you come back. Let's gain a tempo on the knight. Now I'm going to come here, and the idea is to come here and take this. I don't think you have a defense. Well, maybe you do. Maybe you do. Let's see. But notice how tied up you are. This is not healthy. Anyway, This seems to be strong, but I don't know. Maybe you're hanging on here.
Check.
Okay, so yeah, there's what I was illustrating earlier. The overworked king. You can't defend both things here.
Check.
And your knight is trying to get back
Check.
in the game.
Check.
Now you have to eliminate 2 pawns.
Check.
Now sometimes if this pawn goes down too fast, it could end in a draw. But I don't see that happening. Now this is clearly winning for black. So, move 43. That you had a tough one, but that accelerated the end. Okay, thanks for playing.